Welcome, Mayor Sutcliffe, to Quienes, Somos. I want to say thank you very much for making the time to join us today. As we know, Ottawa has become, if not the most wanted, one of the most wanted city for the Latin Americans and newcomers to settle in. With that said, what advice would you give to the newcomers on taking advantage of the sea of opportunities that the city of Ottawa has to offer? And you are a living proof of that, from being a successful journalist to becoming the mayor of the city of Ottawa.
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with you and to be part of your show. I'm one of the best parts about my job is I get to meet all the wonderful people of our city, and I get to meet the ambassadors from around the world who have their embassies here in Ottawa because we're the national capital. And I've developed a good relationship with the Latin American ambassadors in particular. They're a group and they work together very well. And yes, exactly. And they bring their culture and they have an event every year. And the contributions of newcomers to Canada, and when I say newcomers, people who have been arriving for generations now, for decades, from Latin American countries to our city is enormous. The culture, the food, the music, the arts, there's so many contributions. There are many entrepreneurs who are Latin American in our city, and I got to work with some of them when I was an advisor at Invest Ottawa. So the contributions are many. So I would say, I'm very proud of the fact that Ottawa is a welcoming city. My parents were immigrants to Canada. So many people in our city are new arrivals to the country. They were born somewhere else. They come to Ottawa. And so it's a wonderful place to move to start a business, to get a job, to start a family, to raise a family, to participate in the local community. And we've seen example after example of that among people from all over the world, but in particular from Latin American countries. So for anybody who's arriving in the city, I hope that you will find it to be a welcoming place. And I would just say, jump right in, get to know some people, explore what you want to do, start a business, find work, get involved in the arts, get involved in culture. There's so much opportunity here for everyone.
Yes, and indeed, I agree with you.
And you're a great example of that.
Yeah, thank you.
You've been here now 37
years.
Yeah,
in this country.
There's a great example.
Don't regret.
Yeah.
One of the, I know, Mayor, that you know already, the Latin American community has contributed tremendously to the city of Ottawa and across Canada. But the marquee of this contribution is that of the Latin American soldiers. This contribution that is unknown to many people in the city of Ottawa and Canada-wide. As you may know, there were over 100 Latin American soldiers that came to Canada, enlisted on a volunteer basis, and they fought with Canadian Army, went to the First and Second World Wars to bring us that peace, freedom, and rights that we enjoy nowadays. But for some reason, history may have forgotten about them. So the question is, how can we, the city of Ottawa, and perhaps the municipal government, show our great gratitude, our wealth of gratitude that we owe to them with a tribute somehow to remember their sacrifices and their contribution and the sacrifices that they did for this peace that we enjoy now.
I'm really glad you're bringing that up and that you're sharing that story. It's an important story that people need to hear. And of course, I'm grateful to the generations of Canadians who have served in the Canadian Armed Forces and who have served overseas on peacekeeping missions and who have fought in world wars, in the Korean War, in the war in Afghanistan, and some of the other conflicts that Canada's been involved in the world. And I think what brings us together, what brings Latin American countries and Canada together, what I talk about when we're raising the flag of the various Latin American countries that have raised their flag at City Hall on their National Day. We've done it for so many different countries, Argentina, Chile, Nicaragua, El Salvador, so many different countries. What we always talk about on that day is our shared values, our values of democracy and freedom, our values of, the right for people to express themselves, the right for people to live in freedom. So we share those values. They're vital to us, and we have them in common. And so that's what we are always fighting for in these conflicts, is to preserve those values, and that's why we're aligned. And so I hope there is an opportunity in the future to tell that story more, to talk more about the Latin American people who served in the Canadian Armed Forces and were part of conflicts and who volunteered to do so, because it's a great story and it's a story we need to share.
Yep. Now, my last question to you, Mayor Sutcliffe, is for the Latin American newcomers, what advice would you give to them on how they can contribute to shaping the future of this great city for future generations?
It's a great question, and we're so lucky to live in this city, and there are many great cities around the world, many great countries, but I've lived my whole life in Ottawa, and when I travel the world, I love to travel, I love to visit other places, but I've never found another place like Ottawa. It's a nice size, it's just over 1 million people. We have so much culture and recreation in our city. It's a peaceful place. It's a warm and friendly place. It's a great place to start a business, great place to raise a family. So there's so much that we have going for us. But I think we are growing very rapidly, and we need more and more people to be part of the discussion about the kind of city we want to have in the future. And I think one of the best things, one of the greatest assets that we have in Ottawa is our diversity. And so the fact that there are people here from all over the world who bring their culture and their ideas and their suggestions and their contributions creates great value in our city. So for anyone who's arriving in the city, we welcome your input. We want you to bring the best of your culture and your language and your heritage to our city to be part of our exciting future. It's a multicultural future, it's a diverse future, but we're building a city that's going to look very different in 20 years. I think there will be a lot more housing, there'll be a lot more infrastructure, more transit, more facilities, more recreation. So we want everybody to be part of that discussion. And we welcome everyone in this city. And I have a soft spot in particular as a former entrepreneur for people who come here and start businesses. There are so many great examples of people who have come to Canada, come to Ottawa, and they've started a business here. Maybe it's a food business, maybe it's a retail business, maybe it's a technology business, and they've contributed so much to our city that way. So I want people, when they arrive in the city, to see it as a place of opportunity where they can contribute in any way they want to, and that their contributions are welcome. So that's my advice is we want to hear from you. So please share your thoughts and ideas on how we can build a better future for everyone.
I couldn't agree more than you. And I always, with my channel, as you may know, have been doing it for 24 years on a volunteer basis. And that's what I promote, and I invite all the people to do volunteer work, because through volunteer work you can network and you can learn a lot of valuable experience that will open doors for you. All I want to say is, again, thank you very much for making the time to join us today. I want to take the opportunity to say happy holidays, blessings for you and your family, and success, much success in your political career.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.